Hey guys, it's Jim here. Today's going to be a little bit of a different video. I kind of wanted to talk about something a little more serious to me. Maybe it affects you, maybe you've gone through something similar, maybe you haven't. Either way, I just kind of wanted to get this off my chest since today kind of celebrates, kind of a new start.
Hey, do you ever think when you're drinking, why am I drinking, and why does it keep happening?
No.
That's a very good answer.
I mean, I really don't question it at this point.
You shouldn't.
It is what it is.
You shouldn't.
So that clip was from a little impromptu interview I was doing after I had just finished an album I was working on in 2014 at a bar in Ocean Beach, San Diego. So when I first started playing music, I began as a drummer. I got into a band. I was like 13, 14 years old, and we actually were pretty decent, all things considered. We were pretty decent, and we were playing out at bars, and I was being snuck in as a 14-year-old to play drums, because obviously back then you weren't allowed to be in a bar if you weren't of age. So I would get in and I would play, and I'd smoke some cigarettes, have a beer or two, or get high or something like that. And that would be it. It became normal to me, and it started to become like, I don't know, just like part of life, like breathing. Fast forward, like 20 years later, every record I've ever worked on, I don't think I wrote any of those songs without drinking, which is weird to think about. Not that I couldn't have. Now that I'm not drinking, I know I could have done that, but I always felt like I needed the alcohol to kind of get creative and get out of the anxiety shell that I pretty much constantly lived in. And not until after I had stopped did I realize that was one of the major causes of it. So I was kind of trying to fix a problem by making it worse. Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Not smart. And so yeah, all throughout music school, I drank heavily through that. I started drinking like a 6-pack every day. I was drinking light beer at the time, like Newcastle's, stuff like that. And by light, I mean not very strong, like 4.5% beers. But it started to put me down a bad path. When I moved out to California, it was the furthest I'd ever been away from, my whole family and stuff like that. I was pretty much totally on my own. I knew a few people out here, but, I was in my late 20s, and everyone has real jobs. Everyone's got real stuff to do. So I was just kind of there, and, I just go to bars by myself. It's actually how I ended up meeting my wife. I met her at a bar that I would walk home from work every day. I would stop there. But yeah, I mean, alcohol and drinking and stuff like that was just a constant part of my life. And anything with music, if you look at any picture of me gigging, there's always a beer. There's always was a beer, like right next to me. It's just one of those things, just to kind of ease the nerves and stuff like that when I was going out and playing live. And so when the shutdown started, my drinking got a lot worse, and I actually reverted back to even smoking cigarettes too. Really bad combo. And then one day, I was not able to hold anything down, like any food whatsoever. And that lasted for about 2.5 weeks. And so I went to the emergency room. That was on June 18th. Doctor told me I could have, permanent liver damage, and gave me a bottle of, not hydrocodone, but Valium. He gave me Valium, which I still have like the whole bottle. I only used it for the first day because I'm terrified of those things. But yeah, he just said, if you want to have a shot here, you got to stop drinking. Like, you just got to do it. And having quit addictions before, like cigarettes, I tried to do it how a lot of people had done it, with, like weaning off, or I'm going to do this day. Nah, that's not what worked for me. Yeah, the first 2 days really sucked of that whole like soberness and like my body really getting used to it. I had not had cold sweats like that. And then the stress of like everything else going on, we're not able to go out and play live. My wife had lost both of her jobs. She's a bartender. Now she manages a restaurant, and they're in trouble. But I mean, that's a whole nother kit and caboodle, as they say. But, it created a really toxic environment. And I had always, even when I was like really drinking and before I got really bad, like I wouldn't really drink during the day. Like I'd have like a beer or two during the day, but I wasn't like drinking during the day. So it was kind of like my excuse to myself to be like, oh, well, you don't really have that big of a problem. It's not like you're waking up and getting loaded every day, because that's real bad. And I've seen people like that, and they somehow manage to function. God bless them. I couldn't do it. But once my daughter would go to sleep, I would have, 5 or 6 more beers, and then that's it. Luckily for me, I was never really big into the liquor part of it. I wasn't down in bottles like that. I think it was more just after so many years of it, my body was like, dude, that's enough. Like you gotta stop. And so I bring this up because today is December 18th, and it has been 6 months since I've done anything with alcohol, and that's pretty crazy to me. If you told me that, a year ago from today, I would have been like, yeah, no way. I'm always gonna have a drink or two. I'm not, trying to get inebriated or something like that. But I mainly wanted to talk about how my writing and my guitar playing has changed. I have noticed I have become a substantially better guitar player. Now, I am not saying I'm a great guitar player. To me, I'm a pretty mediocre, I would say competent guitar player. I can play pretty much every style of music competently. I'm not excellent at anything. And that's fine. Like, I don't pretend to be, and whatever. It is what it is. But as far as my technique goes and my growth goes, I'm able to focus a lot better and retain things, not just with my head, because I always remember things. It's the muscle memory of learning new things sticks with me a lot easier than it used to, and that's been really big, especially because I've been working on my lead playing a lot. I could always kind of like hammer through things and it'd be really sloppy, and then I would just stop practicing it entirely. I would say, "Oh, I'm done with it." I learned how to play it, or I posted a stupid clip for Instagram once of me playing it sloppily with the music louder than my guitar playing, and I fooled people into thinking I'm good. I mean, what does that really do? And so now when I do play and I practice seriously, I'm retaining a lot more, and not just mentally, as I said, but physically. And it's been really weird recording myself and listening to the differences. Now, I'm not advocating saying everybody should stop drinking to play music to improve. That's not true. I think some of the best songs I ever wrote were because, not because of the alcohol per se, but because I used it to get me mentally out of whatever I was going through to help me to write. And a lot of good stuff did come from that. But as things are now, I don't know. I kind of feel more when I write, if that makes any sense. And it's kind of awkward, honestly. It's strange to me. It's still a little alien. I'm getting used to it, but it's not the same, like just numbed down and then it just like my body will kind of regurgitate it out like when I was drinking. But it's just things are different. It's all an adaptation. I don't know. And I guess looking back on it, I cost myself a lot of friends, and it was nobody's fault. I mean, you can blame the alcohol, but the alcohol wasn't injecting itself into my bloodstream. I was the one drinking it, and I would go to parties with friends, and even out here, people that did nothing wrong, and I would take so much of this negative energy I had towards myself, really, and I would blame it on other people, and I'd take it out on them, and it sucks. It really sucks, because and they're better off, because that version of me, I wouldn't want to have been my friend, like, absolutely not. So it's just a price that I still kind of have to pay because of decisions I made. And when you can come to grips with stuff like that and you can take responsibility, it's the first step to actually making a real change in your life. No matter what it is, you have to be accepting and ready to say, all right, this is my fault, or I did this, and how can I fix this? What needs to be done to fix it? And the thing about life is you only get so many second chances, if you even get a second chance. So all it could take, sometimes you could ruin basically a whole lifetime worth of friendship in, a few hours. And you might never talk to those people again. And so it's just something to think about too. It's just pros and cons. That's all this all is. Just pros and cons and making the best choice possible for you and your family's happiness, really. So now I don't really take anything. I'll puff a joint at night, a little bit here and there. I don't need much. Just kind of take the nerves off the rest of the day, but that's not even an everyday thing. And it's just kind of, I don't know. I feel a lot more clear and productive, and my wallet's a lot happier. I've been able to save a lot more money. I mean, that alone is a good reason for any guitar player, especially somebody like you. If you're watching for, my gear stuff, you can afford a lot more if you cut out any bad habit out of your life, cigarettes, alcohol, anything excess that really isn't doing you anything good. So, I'm not trying to be preachy. I was just looking back, and today is, the 6 month thing, and I don't know. I don't celebrate it. I know some people they have sober birthdays, this, that, and the other. I saw it was close, and last night I was around alcohol, so it kind of just triggered the thought process for me, and the date just happened to line up with it. So I said, whatever. I'll do this. Not really trying to get anything out of it. Just wanted to tell you, you know. So I don't know, if you ever see me at a bar, don't buy me a drink if I'm playing. But yeah, I mean, you don't need anything to write, and you don't need anything to play. And it took me, 2 decades to figure that out. So if I could help somebody else figure it out sooner than that, that'd be cool. But again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it if you just, you do it responsibly, and you don't let it become something that you're worrying about. Am I going to have that tonight, or I'm not going to be able to sleep? That's when you are in deep trouble. So if you ever start to get to that point, maybe just take a step back. I know things aren't easy right now with the stress of what's going on in this completely screwed up world, and I won't get into that. But you can do it if you really want to. You can. So that's it. Gonna keep it short. Thanks, guys. Tomorrow I'll be back with guitar stuff, hopefully. So thanks. Take it easy.